You're very welcome back. You're watching the Daily Rundown with me, Fiona Fox. Now, sensitive details held by police and prosecutors in England are being lost because evidence is still being shared on computer disks, watchdogs say. Police and prosecution watchdogs looked at criminal justice computer systems and found the testimonies of underage and vulnerable victims and witnesses had been kept on portable disks. In one case, a DVD interview of a 12-year-old sex offence victim was lost. Is this just super shocking, just to me, or is this super shocking?
It's dreadful, yeah.
This is appalling.
Yeah,
it is.
Right? I mean, not to colour your view or your opinion.
No.
Obviously. What do you think, AJ?
Well, I work, obviously, my day job is I work in the commercial sector, so data protection of our clients and customers is obviously
super
paramount.
important.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, as a comedian, when I go on stage, I can't talk about things like that, and I don't, whereas with this, to find out that, the law, John Law are losing personal and sensitive information that is obviously used for criminal cases to lock up offenders
literally
of
couldn't
terrible.
be more important.
Yeah, exactly.
How does this happen? Does this happen like, oh, I'm just going to walk? Because I mean, all I'm going on is like watching the bill and stuff. So you walk from that room where you've recorded it all down to some sort of filing situation, I assume. How does this get lost?
Well,
it's just.
Well, I think this is the point. I think one of the issues that we've got is that some of our police forces are using outmoded equipment because they're underfunded. Let's be honest, they've had massive cuts to their budgets. So when you think about it, a knock-on effect of that is they're going to have to use outmoded things. They're going to have to use, instead of portable USB sticks, they're using like CDs and floppy disks, and
Is that more expensive though? I mean, I'm not very techie, but surely the easiest thing, and you can upload something in 2 seconds to the cloud or anything you want to do, and get a permanent place.
The problem is though that especially with sensitive information, you're going to have up-to-date firewalls and up-to-date things like that, and you're going to have to pay for subscriptions and have data encryption and all that things, and that's possible and it's perfectly feasible.
Very real threat, I guess.
Exactly, but if they're using 20-year-old infrastructures, hardware infrastructures and things like that, and outdated servers, these things are going to be far easier to hack. It's a really big worry, because I know that for private firms, they are struggling to keep up with technology just because the expense of migrating over to a new structure and infrastructure is so expensive. Now, again, if you think about the public sector, they're having their budgets cut, so then they've got outdated hardware and software, but they've not got clouds, and it actually does make me worried reading about the fact they've got that old antiquated hardware and software, what kind of infrastructure and encryption they have in place,
At all, yeah. What other kind of regulation could they have then? Say if we accept that there's underfunded, or they're underfunded, sure there should be some kind of a regulatory body there that just makes sure this doesn't happen, shouldn't there?
As you say, it's very worrying. In my work life, I deal with data protection and sort of the ICO and all these kinds of things, and it just really does fill me with dread. But we are moving towards, I think with us moving towards a more technical based system, and everything is moving online and is backed up onto the cloud and stuff, and it's very useful, but it does become, it's that worrying thing of we've become so reliant on technology that as you say, is that we're sort of almost chasing our tails, and that technology is advancing at a rate. But yeah, I mean, to be having things on floppy disks and CDs and DVDs and stuff.
Sorry, I'm laughing. It's not funny. No, it's almost laughable.
I could. Sounds ridiculous. Yeah, exactly. But I would. I'm the same. I didn't think it would cost that much to get a USB stick or some kind of, fiber optic connection, but yeah, they're physically carrying around CDs
external hard drives.
Another worrying thing is that the Crown Prosecution Service, they were fined £200,000 because a third-party company which they've been employing lost evidence. They just lost it. Where did you put that hammer? I don't know.
Yeah,
it's extremely worrying though.
But that's the thing. They're outsourcing business. Again, it's down to privatisation. So there's sections of our police force and law that have been privatised, and as soon as you get third parties involved, possibly they've not got the same stringent checks.
And you've added an extra error possibility onto the whole procedure. Would it make you lose faith in the whole law system, or do you? Because you have said obviously Are you already there?
I already have, yeah. I've already a few years back, I live in Manchester, you live in Manchester, I lost a bike, so a bike was stolen from me, and I chased the stealer of that bike, the thief, down the road, and a year later, unbelievably, I got a phone call from the police saying, "We found your bike."
Wow.
And I was like, wow, and I identified it. That is definitely my bike. I went down to the police station in Longsight and was like, "That's my bike, like the girl from the Goonies." And they were like, "Right, we're going to take this to court." They took that case to court, and then after the court case was over, I was like, "Right, when am I going to get my bike back?" And after about 2 or 3 months after the court case, they were like, "Oh, we gave your bike away now that we got the..." And I was like, you gave my property away.
So I mean, so that type, I know it's not the exact same thing, but it's still, the bike was evidence in that case. Now I know it's not the same as these are very sensitive cases we're talking about in this situation, but if this is the haphazard approach to evidence in general.
Well, this is it. This is something.
It's not just
found.
an underfunding situation then, though, as much as, I think it's a nice balanced way to look at it. Procedural
and bureaucracy.
I mean, to be fair, I mean there are lots of stories of this evidence, evidence going missing, and I mean, this is only anecdotal evidence, but I would say, to play devil's advocate, I was burgled when I lived in Preston, another fine northern powerhouse city, and I was burgled, and 4 years later I got a call at work, and the person who had robbed me had gone out on a Saturday night, had got very drunk, had been very violent, and had his DNA taken for drunk and disorderly, and it had matched against the DNA taken at my robbery, and they actually got him and prosecuted him for burgling my house, so they, I mean, admittedly mine was a burglary, and if on the grand evidence, I'd much rather they lost my evidence and were keeping evidence in these sensitive cases, but they do keep a lot, but I hate to say this, but over time, you would think that the police would have a more secure thing than generally. I mean, like, when I move, I lose things, but I'm not carrying with me the responsibility of making sure that victims of crime and justice is seen. It's a scary thing. It's a scary thing.
I think particularly with these kind of cases as well. I mean, we already are dealing with a horribly small percentage of sex offences and rape charges that even make it to court, whether it's mishandling of the cases. To think that there's this whole aspect that could let any case down is really
whole cases could be won or lost on the idea that they could just lose evidence, which is just scary.
It's awful, isn't it? Thanks very much for that, guys. Let's move to our next story. Almost 5,000 dogs suspected of being banned breeds have been seized by police in England and Wales over the past 3 years. The RSPCA wants the Dangerous Dogs Act to be changed so dogs are banned on the basis of behaviour and not breed. The 4 breeds banned in the UK are Pit Bull Terrier, Japanese Tosa, the Argentine Mastiff and the Brazilian Mastiff. What do we think about this now? It's a very, very, I think, emotional topic for some people, isn't it? I think the big divisive question is it the breed or is it the owner in these situations?
It's the owner. It's the owner because it's similar to saying it will be similar to saying that we could just get rid of massive swathes of people, because when children and animals, for me, are born with a certain toolkit, but everybody's born with the toolkit to do good or bad, and it is how you are developed in that. I have lots of friends who train lots of different dogs. I have friends who have chocolate Rottweilers who I would leave my little nieces and nephews with without any reservation.
Really?
However, I would not leave them with Yorkshire Terriers. I would not leave them with little teacup dogs. I would not leave them with lots of these things.
Is that kind of contradicting the point then? Because you're saying there are breeds then that.
No, but I would say that. But all I mean is anecdotally, I would just mean that Rottweilers. I would say that Rottweilers would be growing up. Rottweilers to me were dangerous dogs.
Oh,
they were the horrible dogs. They were the dogs that the nasty people with the bother boots and the rather drastic haircuts, would carry on. But it's about training, and I think that dogs are pack animals.
Yeah.
So they look to their leader, and they will look to their leader to look how it is, how to behave. Dogs look to that pack leader, and yeah, I would say that breeds are not naturally, bad. I have a dog who is a cross between a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel and a Border Collie. Now, Cavalier King Charles Spaniels are bred to have brains that are too big for their skulls. They are also bred so that they naturally have bad knees, and genetically they have bad knees. But that doesn't mean that all Cavalier King Charles Spaniels have these things. It's for me, it's about training. Yes,
I think it's the owner.
Yes, you can. Yeah, yes, you can see natural, nasty dogs. I have a friend who has a Mastiff. When she runs, it looks like a shark is running at you. But I know that dog is the softest dog you will ever meet.
Let's not forget though that dogs are descended from wolves, so they have got a certain natural trait. Now I know that you're very much on the nurture side of this, so I guess I'll argue for the nature side of things. Dogs are designed by genetics to be, carnivores, to hunt their prey, etc., etc. You take a Jack Russell, for example. You would see a Jack Russell with a chew toy, and it will shake its head. Now, when we bred Jack Russells to catch rats, because they're ratters, that's what they would do. They would break their necks by shaking them violently. Yeah. So I understand where you're coming from, but also we've bred certain animals, like a pit bull. It's bred to fight in a pit, that's what they were initially bred for, and we have to take that into consideration. So yes, certain breeds, we've consistently bred them to have certain traits. Now, if you take humans, for example, we have a fight or flight response from years of evolution. We get distracted by television screens. I've got one in front of me right now, and I keep wanting to look at my own face because I can see it in the corner of the screen. When I was at university, I was told I had anxiety because I got so nervous of writing essays that I would physically run away from my computer screen because I couldn't deal with it. And that's, again, the fight or flight. Now, that essay isn't going to kill me, but I was having a very similar response to if I was under attack as a primitive caveman or ape. Sorry, creationists out there,
so
but
you say those instincts are still in people, whether are not just beings, all animals. We're all animals, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you just think that you wouldn't be entirely comfortable to just trust that the animal had evolved from that.
Well, I think that I can understand the argument that's saying, well, we've bred certain breeds over generations and generations and generations, and perhaps one of the issues here is actually pedigree breeding, because that's genetically not good for the animal, but also it's going to cause problems and defects, and behavioural defects could seep in there. We've got it with humans. If you have inbred humans, they have psychological defects. There's studies that show that. So possibly it's the same thing with inbreeding with animals that we should really take into consideration.
Thanks very much for that, guys. We have to go for a quick break, but thanks for that nice balanced viewpoint from the two of you. It's great. We're going to go for our second break of the evening. Don't go anywhere. Lots more news and some music coming up very, very soon. Don't go away.